Now let's get to our first conversation this afternoon. We have two conversations for you as always. But first is the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association has applauded the federal government over the newly announced 15% import tariffs on petrol and diesel, saying the move is strategic and overdue. Well, NECA's Director General, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyeride, in a statement made available to newsmen, described the policy as appropriate, timely, and necessary to protect local refineries. According to him, and I quote now, "It is absurd that Nigeria, a crude oil producing nation, has continued to rely heavily on imported fuel, leaving 4 government-owned refineries unproductive." He said the tariff will promote value addition, conserve foreign exchange, and help Nigeria's industrialization drive. Mr. Oyeride also noted that the policy could boost investors' confidence, improve Naira stability, and accelerate progress towards energy sufficiency. He cautioned that government must avoid price distortions while ensuring regular crude supply to local refiners, especially under the current Naira for crude arrangement. Well, the Director General of the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyeride, is my guest. He joins me live from our Abuja studios for this conversation. Thank you so much, DG. It's always a pleasure to have you join the program.
Thank you for having us, Tolu. Good afternoon, viewers.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon to you. And how is Abuja today? And why I ask you, why are you in support of 15% tariffs at this time when Nigerians are already grappling with the fallout of these reforms? Many think this is also another way to maybe increase the price of fuel again. This might not go down well with many Nigerians, DG. Why are you commending this move?
You know, I think it's first very important to put the context of this conversation in proper perspective.
Okay.
And it's also very important that the narration is communicated clearly and succinctly the way it is.
Okay.
The 15% tariff is on imported fuel, imported petrol, and diesel. You know, it's unfortunate that this conversation about 15% tariff on imported fuel and diesel is taking place because for a nation that is blessed with crude oil, for a nation that has the divine grace to have reserves of crude, a nation that has or currently have 4 refineries. By whatever conspiracy, those 4 refineries are not working, and we have been bedeviled with the evil of importation to meet our needs, while the country continues to bleed and the citizens continue to suffer. Now, some organizations decide to stake their resources, take the risk, and build refineries. While some multinationals are divesting from the downstream and upstream sector of the oil and gas, we have some businesses that have taken it upon themselves to build refineries and start local production. The best we can do is, in the interim, make that environment very hospitable for those that have committed their funds to build refineries and save us from the embarrassment of the 4 refineries that are not working. The best we can do is to commend those that have opened these refineries to create jobs, because for every importation we do, we are exporting jobs. Come on. The countries where we are importing from, people are working in those refineries that are producing. So we are exporting jobs. We are putting a lot of pressure on the Naira, because a large chunk of the forex we use currently, is used for importation. So why not, if we have options of local refining, provided the local refining has the capacity to meet a substantial part of our local consumption. So we need to protect those local refiners, make the environment a bit more hospitable, more interesting, for more modular refineries to come up, for more investors to invest in local refining, because we have no business importing fuel. You know, even simple economics. I think this issue also defies simple, basic economics, that products that you have comparative advantage on, you leverage that advantage. Products that you don't have comparative advantage on, then you can bring them in. But now we have the comparative advantage of having crude. Somewhere along the line, the 4 refineries stopped working. They developed flu, and they never recovered from those flu. And we have local refineries that are helping us to balance this context. And the best we can do is to commend government for coming up with those with the 15% on imported. If you want to import fuel, please go ahead and import. Then compete with the local refineries. But we should not cry foul where there is none. You know, there is argument of it will increase fuel price. We shudder at that kind of argument, because you are competing with local manufacturing. If there is no local refining whatsoever, if there is absolutely no local refining, and the only option is importation, and you put tariff, then it's a different context, because the demand for it, because demand is also not elastic, so you make also supply a bit more contingent on what is available for people to buy. But that is not the case. There's local refining. Nigerians, we all have the option of buying from the local refiners, while those that have decided to import, they can continue to import and pay the tariff. Not only to shock you that this week or last week, we read that a major oil and gas company in this country said their revenue dipped by 20%.
Yeah.
Because they remodeled their business, they stopped importing.
Yeah.
Now, imagine the quantum of 20% dip in revenue. Imagine the bleeding that this country has been bleeding. Imagine 10 big companies like that importing, and they are making that kind of humongous, and rightly so. You know, there's nothing wrong in making profit when the opportunity arises. But the point we are saying is, the moment we have options of local refining, then progressively to protect local industries, to protect jobs, to allow the Naira to breathe, we should support this policy of government.
Interesting stuff, but I'm going to follow up. You've touched on the fact that the issue of price modulation and all of that might come in, maybe distortion and all of that. It depends on how we want to see it. But many would say that even at the moment, Dangote refinery, according to experts and those that have, are reporting, they say it can only supply 30 to 40% of our daily consumption at the moment. Now, how do we balance this up? Are we talking about increased supply of crude to Dangote refinery to be able to meet up with our daily consumption? Or where are we looking at if we totally discourage importation of petroleum products? Then, does the issue of monopoly not come in here again? It's been the big one.
Now, what we expect and what we believe strongly the government will have done is this. Because before you come up with this policy, before we arrived at the point where subsidy was removed, there was a lot of argument. Many years back, successive administration, before they removed subsidy, they put it for negotiation. We want to remove subsidy. Then there will be industrial crisis. There will be protests. There will be agitation. Then the government will call everybody to the table. They will discuss and negotiate. They will give palliatives, give this to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. Few years down the line, we come back to ground zero. We start all over again. And this government came up and removed the subsidy immediately. They removed it, and then we are better for it. The same for this policy of 15%. If we had put it for negotiation, the importers will have gone to the market, they will put on their best act to resist this move. Now, one of the things we believe strongly that the government will have done is this, or has done is this. You will have weighed in what is the percentage of the consumption, of local consumption daily, that the refineries currently operating can provide. You recollect, before now, nobody can give appropriately what is the quantum of liters, millions of liters that we are consuming. The NNPC could not give it in time past. I think it was when Dangote came up and one or two other persons that we started having a clear view of what exactly, how much is the consumption per day in the context of liters. Now, what we believe government must have done or should do is, once we know what is the quantum of the consumption that we have, you don't need to meet your 100% consumption. And that's the general principle everywhere. Once what you have in the immediate can meet 75 to 80% of your consumption, and in the shortest possible time, that 70-80% can be ramped up to 100%, then you go ahead and implement. There is no better time. There is never a best time to implement this kind of policy. Because what it will do is to give confidence to local manufacturers, to local refiners, give confidence to those that are currently dilly-dallying, thinking, should I invest in this environment? Should I invest when there is an opportunity to import? Should I invest? What are the protections that I have? What are the guarantees for my investment? And investment in the oil and gas sector is not naira and copper investment. It runs into millions of dollars. So for us, we believe government will have done that due diligence. We believe the government is not frivolous to come up with a policy without taking care of the back end. We believe they must have checked, can we meet a substantial part of our local refining? Can we guarantee supply of crude to the local refiners? Can we, in whatever context, create a level playing field for new entrants into the market? Once that has been done, then the best thing to do is just roll out this policy, and then you deal with the issues as they arise. So for us, why we can't confirm currently, we know the Dangote refinery has a 650,000 barrel per day, barrel per day capacity, with potential to also increase it. We know some other organizations, BUA is also building the refinery, and you have modular refineries here and there that is coming. I think we need to encourage those modular and those big refineries to come on board quickly so that our energy sufficiency can be absolute. You cannot continue to take Panadol for a fever, thinking you continue to get relief. If you can get a drug that can treat your A fever quickly and start your process of recovery, I think there's no better time for you to take those drugs than now. And for us, we believe it's the best time to come up with this policy.
Great. Now, before I move on from this topic, because it's really important, in your statement, you talked about the fact that this will help advance Nigeria's industrial plan if this happens. I'd like us to stay around that, how that affects, of course, industry and investment.
You know, for businesses whose inputs, significant inputs in the context of machinery, in the context of some level of raw materials, whose input is dollars. The consequential effect of this policy is this. Once the pressure on dollars reduces and the pressure for demand for dollar reduces, it has a direct impact on the value of the naira. The higher the rate of the naira, the better for the business, because the quantum of dollars the business will use in buying raw materials, buying machinery will significantly reduce, which gives those businesses the option or the opportunity to upscale within the context of machinery, within the context of expansion of their business. And the more they expand, the better for this country, because the more they expand, the more jobs they can create, the more revenue government can make, the better for the household and the better for Nigerians directly. So it has a direct hit on our industrial base, because for you to industrialize, you need the industries to continue to work.
Interesting stuff. Well, it's few weeks to the end of the year, and of course, we've been talking about plans and projections for the entire sector, entire country now, not even just a particular sector. And of course, the role you play is very key when we talk about employment and all of that, private sector dealings and all of it. What's the outlook for Nigeria's economy as we move towards the end of 2025? Before we touch on one or more issues as we wrap this segment up.
You know, Tolu, we've seen the value of the Naira gaining ground gradually.
Yes, yes.
You know, from 1,005, yes. And now it's about 1,004 plus.
Yes.
We hope that gain will subsist, and hopefully the Naira will get into the 1,000, 1,001 rem by before first quarter of 2026. So that is the prayer everybody is praying. Let's have a strong Naira, so that the expenses on input by businesses will continue to reduce significantly. And there is also some positives that we have seen here and there within the context of the reforms, and we hope the government will keep those reforms, will sustain those part of the reforms that are yielding positive fruits, and those areas of the reform that are not giving the necessary succor, or that are not giving the kind of result that we anticipate. That the government should not be shy, not to review those areas of those policies. But significantly, we hope the government should also step up the conversation and action on the issue of Buy Nigeria policy. On the long run, for us to survive, for us to be productive, for us to grow, for us to develop as a nation, you know, we must be proud to buy Nigeria. We must be proud to support those that are producing in Nigeria. Beyond the oil and gas sector, even manufacturing, the real sector, we must be proud to support those that are supplying manufacturing. And hopefully at a point, government will look at all goods and services that can be produced locally, that we have the comparative advantage to produce locally. Then why are we really importing? Why can't we create an enabling environment for local manufacturers to thrive? Why the market forces will play their role, demand and supply will play its overall and usual role. But let's create that environment for local manufacturing to be competitive. Wherever we need to input some level of tariff, we put it, so that local manufacturing, because our growth, our development, our sustenance as a nation depends on our capacity and our ability to produce locally and to export the things that we are producing locally.
Let's talk about the NSITF, the act. There's been some back and forth, I know, before now that you, of course, as NECA reacted to. Yes. What's the update with regards to that now at the moment?
Well, we have, as the organized private sector, it's not really NECA, the organized private sector comprising the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, NASIMA, NECA, Nigeria Association of Small and Medium Scale Enterprises, NASME, Association of Food, Beverages and Tobacco Employers, the telcos, the oil and gas producers, oil and gas trade sector, and over close to 40 industrial employers groups have come together to say, for reforms, and that is the crux of our issue, for reforms, when we reform, we support reform absolutely, as we have demonstrated with the reform of this government. But reforms should seek to strengthen institutions, not weaken the governance structures. Reforms should not remove all the safety nets that guarantees transparency, that guarantees accountability, and that guarantees responsibility. Removing all those structures, all the safety nets, all the governance structures that those that initiated the act many years ago, that they put in place, and which is the same kind of structure that applies globally to protect what we call social securities, basically. We don't remove all those or weaken their capacity to protect the fund, and we say we are reforming. You know, that is the crux of the concern of the organized private sector. You know, we shouldn't remove those issues. We shouldn't remove those safety nets, and we shouldn't rename a baby that is old, strong, and able to perform its roles. Those are our concern. And fundamentally also, We've also drawn the attention of the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, attention of the Senate President, the Speaker, and those that are important to hear. We've drawn their attention to the need for us not to also wash our dirty lining in public. You know, there is ILO conventions on tripartite representation on boards like NSITF and other boards or other organizations that are driven by the tripartite. There is tripartite representation, there is equal representation as guaranteed by those conventions, and we should not blatantly, bold-faced violate those conventions and think there is no consequences. So those are the issues that we have raised. They are very serious and genuine issues, more so because the employers are the significant contributors to the fund. So you can't say we don't have a say in how the fund is managed. You absolutely cannot say that. And that is the concern that the organized private sector has communicated to relevant authorities and stakeholders to say, look, we are concerned about this. We are the significant contributors. And we believe strongly that our concern is being taken into cognizance as the conversation continues. But absolutely, conversation is continuing, and social dialogue, we believe, will triumph at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adewale Smart-Oyeri, the Director General, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA. Thank you for your time. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having us once again. Thank you.
All right.